Hello, Charles Mercier here for the Latin students of Foreign High School in Milford, Connecticut, and anyone else with an interest. Let's look together at one good object from the Greek and Roman galleries at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. This is a Roman funerary altar from the 1st century CE. It's an altar that is a place of sacrifice, that is, the destruction of something valuable to offer it to the god. Often an animal, but often a sacrifice at a grave is that of a precious liquid like wine, and that kind of sacrifice is called a libation. This is a Roman bronze statuette of the 2nd and 3rd century CE that's now in Germany that shows a priest pouring a libation from a flat libation bowl that's called a patera. This is the Roman Emperor Trajan on Trajan's column in Rome, pouring a libation from a patera at a small altar. This funerary altar was built as part of a monument to a beloved child by his father at a site dedicated to family funerary rites. Every year in Roman culture, there were festivals for the dead with rituals that included banquets with offerings of wine, cakes, fruit, and flowers. Libations were sometimes poured on the top and at the base of the altar during those funerary meals. The altar would be placed in a family cemetery plot or in front of a monumental tomb, which could have seating and a garden. It would have stood alongside other family memorials, connecting the living family members with their departed relatives. All right, well, who is this? What are the circumstances? An inscription tells us, that is, the letters carved into the marble. Latin inscriptions are hard to read, however. First, you have to know Latin. Well, we all know Latin. But you also have to recognize the forms of the letters, and most of all, because there are many abbreviations in Latin inscriptions. Here, the inscription is written out in letters you're more familiar with, and you can see clearly the abbreviations. And here you see the inscription with its abbreviations filled out. And this is what it is. Diis manibus sacrum anthi, Lucius Julius Gammus pater hoc fecit filio dulcissimo. It is a dedication to the Diis manibus, the gods, the manes. That's dative plural. The manes are the death spirits in Roman religion, the gods of the dead. Sacrum, of course, accusative, sacred to the gods who are the manes. The manes of Anthus. The boy who died and is remembered here in this altar is named Anthus. The word Anthus, the name Anthus means bloom. It means flower. Maybe you're familiar with how that word comes into modern English in the word chrysanthemum, golden bloom, in the word anthology, which is a collection of good flowers. Anyway, this altar is sacred to the manes of Anthus. In a way, you could translate it sacred to the death spirits of Anthus, even to the soul or to the spirit of Anthus, or even in memory of Anthus. Lucius Julius Gammus, this Roman of the 1st century CE, pater as a father, hoc fecit, made this, put up this altar, put up this funeral monument. Filio dulcissimo, again in the dative, for his son, his very sweet son, the superlative of the adjective dulcis, sweet. So altogether, Lucius Julius Gammus, as a father, put up this monument, sacred to the spirit of Anthus, for his very sweet son. After you do all that work of figuring out the letters and figuring out the Latin, you can read the inscription aloud and have the same experience as an ancient person reading it and understanding it. Diis manibus sacrum anti Lucius Julius Gammus pater hoc fecit filio dulcissimo. So Julius Gammus grieved over his young son and had this monument built at great expense with great care. What does his father want us to remember about Anthus? First of all, he's depicted as very young. Big ears, chubby neck, and cheeks. But even so, he wears a formal toga, which was really only for adult male citizens. So he looks like in our culture a young child dressed in a formal business suit. He holds a scroll. If he wasn't in school yet, he would have been, and he would have become literate. And he could read and write. An attainment not for everyone, maybe only 15% of the population. The Gammus family had high hopes for him, that he would become a dignified, adult, literate citizen. Also, he had a dog, and they seem to have had a good relationship. As decorations on both sides of the altar, we see laurel trees with their heavy leaves and big berries. Also, on the left side of the altar, herons fight with snakes. And on the right side, we see ducks. So, altogether, we enter into this Roman family of the 1st century CE. A grieving father has set up this monument to a son who was very sweet to him. And even now, we remember Anthus with his little dog and his family's expectations for what he would become. Those sentiments and that kind of artwork is recognizable even to us in our own time and place, in some grave monuments that we see in our time and culture. This is the grave of Johnny Morehouse from the year 1860 in Dayton, Ohio. He died at age 5. He drowned in the Miami and Erie Canal. His dog tried to save him and sat on his grave and wouldn't move. This gravestone remembers that story. Here is the grave of Chad Hooks, who died at 23 in a car accident in the year 2002 in Nashville, Tennessee. He's depicted with his dog. This is the grave of Bill Floyd, who died at 16 in 1976 in Dillon County, South Carolina. He's depicted as a reader. He is reading Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. All right, if you like this, we'll look at something else at the Metropolitan together sometime soon. Thanks very much for watching.